Good evening, race fans. Welcome to the Core Racing Network. Tonight, the final race of round one here for the Chop Shop GT3 Series presented by Fuego Paints, and we are at famous Daytona International Speedway running the road course here, obviously, for these guys. An hour to determine who is going to move on and who is going to be maybe not sent home packing, because obviously they'll still be able to race, but who's going to be out of the playoffs. Only two drivers so far have locked themselves into round number two, and those both via wins by James Pearce 2 weeks ago and David Steiner last week at Detroit Belle Isle. So you got 6 spots remaining, and it's all going to be determined here tonight. Obviously, if we get a winner, that's going to certainly shake things up. We've seen Wesley Strait out there last week looking pretty good. We see Michael Caffery obviously up there as well. So we'll see what plays out here. But these guys are done with qualifying and getting ready to go. We'll give you the rundown here in a second. But in the meantime, Carl Hamwick in the booth, joined by Mark Thomas. Mark, end of the round one here. A lot on the on the plate here for these guys, and a lot at stake at a pretty familiar course.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this track. Gives good racing. I think it sounds slightly warped, maybe even a little rude, but it does give good racing. Well, I think anybody who's seen us before could possibly have seen any of the core races without actually watching a Daytona race here before. So I won't bore you with the details, apart from it's 3.5 miles long. Still should be good. I think there's going to be a lot of guys out there trying pretty hard. I've been watching some of the practice. A lot of the times look very, very even. I don't think there's going to be, any big breakaways. Well, I didn't see Pearce out there, so and lo and behold, as soon as I say that, I see his name at the top of the list. Sack me, Carl. Yep. I'm not with it tonight. I'm not good for you.
Well, you're good enough. You're good enough to make it do, and I know you're here to see a good race out here. You take a look at the standings tree right there, and actually we'll get to that in a second. Let's get to the results first from qualifying, and it does see James Pearce on top of the boards with a 1:44.790. Nathan Biggart in second, Michael Caffery, Dominique Ford, and David Steiner, the other one that has locked himself in 5th place. Colby Hartung, Michael Strickland, Wesley Strait, Skylar Keitel, Dylan Stuckey rounding out your top 10. Then you got Phillip Caffery, Carlton Hendry, Mark Roettgen, and Steven Salas rounding out the field. And you take a look at the standings tree, and it'll give you an idea of what you need to be looking for. The guys in the green are the ones that have already qualified themselves into round number 2. The guys in the red are battling out for those last 6 spots, and then the guys in the white are out of the playoffs already. But a good start here for James Pearce. He is on the point here and looking to get some more bonus points to carry into to round number 2. But some of the other guys that are right up there with him, you see right there, Nathan Biggart certainly would love to win his way in. You got right there Michael Caffery would love to do it as well. Dominique Ford could certainly use a bit of help to get himself back into clear contention. I mean, it's Biggart, Strickland, and Ford look like they'll be good to go on points to make it through, but real tight there from 6th on down, as you got Phillip Caffery, John Hammond, Mark Roettgen all only 3 points out of the cut line. Salas 3 points behind, but the pace car is off. We are getting ready to fire these GT3s off and get some racing underway here at Daytona.
Yeah, Barney there waving the flag. It looks like a Porsche is making a good break with Dominique stuck into that group, trying to find a place to tuck in. Makes a nice little move there, slots himself back into 3rd try and let these cars settle themselves. And
well, it's Dominique Ford once again getting off track there.
Oh, he's got it back on there. I'm not going to say anything. As soon as I mention Dominique Ford, what happens?
Definitely your fault. Definitely not driver error. That's clearly your fault. So
yeah,
at least
absolutely.
we all know that now. But he does slot himself back in there into 10th place. So, you know, could have certainly been a lot worse. Could have been some damage. Could have been, you know, a lot of things going on. And we'll take a look back here in a second and show you exactly what happened as these guys make their way out of the infield onto NASCAR turn number 1 right here. And just a pretty cool sight seeing these cars come up out of there, up onto the banking, and you know, the lights on. It's just it's a great atmosphere here when it comes to these GT3 cars out here at Daytona.
Yeah, it's superb racing. I mean, it's always superb racing here. It's a great track. How could anybody not want to run here? I mean, it's just brilliant.
Side by side going through the bus stop as Dominique Ford makes a pass and tries to work his way back up through the field. Looks like Carlton Hendry not making the start here tonight. So it is going to be 13 cars strong here. And again, quite a number of playoff drivers looking for those final 6 spots. But we've got a long way to decide that right now as we are just starting this 1 hour long race. We'll take a look back and show you what happened to Dominique Ford, and looks like he's already off. Could be this one right here. And not sure if he got help there or not. We'll have to take a look back there one more time and we slow it down and see exactly what happened. Trying to get another camera view here. Now, I mean, you see just getting that back end loose.
Yeah, cold tires. They look like cold tires to me. That's rough. That's not what you need. It's the big grunt from that AMG. That was
yeah, I don't want to say it was a good job getting back on the track. It was a good job that he got back on there quickly, but a good job by these other drivers out there avoiding him coming back on. Looks like Trading Paints quite possibly finally is correct. Dealt with some issues, and me and Mark have both dealt with these issues here, trying to figure out what is going on. And hopefully, I think we may have, at least myself, have settled out and got these guys out there correctly. And I'll tell you what, James Pearce not exactly stretching out here by any means over Nate Biggart, as he is on a move here. He's got that smile back on the Porsche, and he's certainly probably grinding his teeth trying to keep up with James Pearce here. And you know, of course, not only would a win lock himself into the next round, but you get those bonus points too, and that could certainly play a big part. He carried 9 playoff points into the round 1 here, and you know, you take those 9 points away, he's back there tied with Michael Strickland right now. You know, still a good ways away from the cutoff line, but just shows you how much these playoff points can really matter, and every point counts, especially when you get into round 2. So would love to get some bonus points.
Yeah, very, very true. I think one of the things about this track is that it's I wouldn't say aero dependent, but you can use the aero here. You can, especially on that long straight, if you can get within that 1 second, there's some time to be made here. And I think that is what Nate might be, might be playing into, because it does look like the places where it matters, where that toe and that slipstream really does make a difference. He's there or thereabouts, which is enabling him to stay with Pearce on that big long banking. As you can see, he looks close enough, and he doesn't look like Pearce is letting him break away. And as long as he's good onto the brakes as they come into the bus stop, he should be okay. You know, this could be exactly what Biggart needs. So
I gotta ask you, I'll put the gun to the head and ask you the question: what do you think is the most important section of Daytona and really nailing this lap? Is it the bus stop? Is it the International Horseshoe? Is it turn 1? Is it just the sheer speed that you need to carry? If you had to pick one do or die spot on this track, where would it be? You want to get back to you in about a half hour?
Please, if you wouldn't mind.
Need about do about
the only
16
time.
pros and cons of each section here. It's I mean, and that's kind of why I brought it up. There's so many absolutely crucial sections of this track. You've seen him go through turn 1. Now we're going into what's known as the International Horseshoe. I mean, you need to nail both these corners down absolutely beautifully, and they're doing that right now. Coming up right now on the kink, and it's a section where it's very, very scary to go too wide through there. You almost always want to funnel out to single file. Western Horseshoe right here. Another one that it's not a difficult corner, but it's really, really tricky to nail, really tricky to get that power down coming out, and send you down into turn number...
Here's one.
Yeah, this is quite possibly the most difficult to get the power down coming out of there, and it's really where you absolutely need to, because you see you're coming up onto the main track here, and it is full power all the way until you get to the bus stop right now, and you can't sleep on the bus stop. The bus stop has, you know, killed the dreams of many drivers by not taking it correctly, killed the times of guys, you know, trying to get a pole or trying to catch up to somebody, because there are 100 different ways you can take it, and you see kind of 2 completely different ways there from Biggart and Pearce, but you see Biggart's way certainly a little bit faster, and it's just there's so many little nuances to this track, and you drive it easily. Yeah, to me it's one of the more easy road courses you can go to, but nailing it down and nailing the speed on this track is not easy.
No, I was just about to say, it isn't complicated as in how the corners and how to get around.
A little how do you do there from Nate Biggart, and letting him know, like, hey, I'm back here and I'm not going anywhere, and he's gonna have to pick a little Porsche out of his teeth there.
And you really don't want to be doing that too often, because you don't want to be disrupting the air going over the front of that Porsche. You need to keep that front end intact. I don't know whether Nate's just carrying a lot more speed in there than Pearce, or whether that was, you know, a little...
Yeah, it seems like Nate is just really more confident on the brakes right now. You see him even closing in right there on the Western Horseshoe. It seems like he's getting on the brakes and really closing up the gap in the braking zones right now. It's just Pearce is able to get the power down maybe a little bit better. You see him stretch out there almost to about 5.5 tenths of a second, but that draft is just going to keep Biggart right there. He's going to close right back in. We'll take a look back, and unfortunately, Dominique Ford having another issue here. This going into turn 1, and it looks like, not sure if that it was on the inside there, but getting a little close to that inside wall and coming out and tagging Dominique Ford, and I believe that was might have been Dylan Stuckey. No, it wasn't Dylan Stuckey. It was Skylar Keitel.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at that one more time right here, and looks like maybe just went to take that corner. It's a little bit too close, and yeah, avoided the tires, but unfortunately Dominique Ford was not avoided. So Ford now back in 11th position, and he's got a lot of work to go, and he's got some time to do it, but I tell you what, that 27 points as he ahead of the cut line is going to get smaller and smaller, especially when you got guys like Michael Caffery, who came in only 11 points behind the cut line. He is sitting in 4th position right now. So very interesting right there, as a lot of the other guys are from 8th on back right now. But 3 of your guys that we've seen all season, and really you can even throw Michael Caffery in there, because when he's been out here and doing well, he's been up there in that top 4, top 5. But the top 3 guys we've been watching all season, 1, 2, 3 right now, with Pearce, Biggart, and Steiner.
Yeah, Caffery's not letting Steiner go. He's you know, he's there. Just definitely not going to let him go. He wants that. He wants those points, and with Steiner through, Caffery must be thinking to himself, dude, come on, you're in already. Let me go. Come, or maybe he's saying, don't let me go. Keep this pace up, because right now I'm tucked in behind you, and you are dragging me around this track, and maybe I can make a little bit of fuel saving here. But that Steiner that BMW working well for Steiner. It's looking secure. He's actually making it work quite well around here. BMW has at times worked well around here, but a lot of the updates for the cars, for the Porsche, and you know, for some of the other stuff, I think we've brought those more into favour when it comes to getting around here. But yeah, Steiner making that BMW look good around here.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about all the tricky sections here on the track and where you need to kind of really nail those sections down. But ultimately, when you come to Daytona, you're looking for a car that is fast. You're looking for one that is going to just tear down those straightaways and really be a good drafting car. Pretty much everything that the BMW is not. BMW is known to be one of the slowest, if not the slowest, GT3s in the field. But it's also known for good handling, and I think that's where he's making it pay off. You see him going through the infield here, and just a little bit better than Michael Caffery, and that's where he's pulling away. Caffery then gains it back on the long straightaways where he can get in that draft and tuck in. But, I mean, we've seen Steiner make this BMW work all season long, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But looks like Phillip Caffery I be having a little incident here too, and right behind Dominique Ford, looks like just getting a little too hot into the horseshoe. Looks it around. Mark Roettgen doing a good job getting around the outside there.
Yeah, the Fervet working well there for. That's for Mark. Yeah. I mean, it's just that's another thing that you got to watch out for around here, because you want to be so late on the brakes and you want to get that thing turned in, but it's very, very easy to just overshoot because the braking points are so big. And when I mean you're hard on the brakes for what seems like a very short amount of time, because you want to try and carry that speed. It's a very high speed track around here. You need to be carrying as much speed as you think that you can possibly get away with to get a decent lap time around here. And that's not easy, because a lot of these corners seem to go on and on and on. Turn one, you seem to be like forever waiting to be able to get the car to turn in, and you're trying to balance it on the brakes. International Horseshoe is another. You just think you get the car slowed and you turn it in and you just, come on, I want to get on the power, but you can't get on there too quick, otherwise it will just over rotate.
So if you're taking a look at the drivers over there, you notice that there are 10 playoff drivers out here, 2 missing. One of them being JJ Burr, who is not going to make it through to the next round. He was below the cut line. I don't think he's actually showed up to any of these playoff races, so he's not going to make it through to round number 2. But another one that's missing is John Hammond, and considering he was only 3 points ahead of the cut line, he is going to be out after tonight's race of the playoffs. The question is, who takes his spot? You got Steven Salas came in here 3 points behind the cut line. Michael Caffery 11 points behind the cut line. Wesley Strait 16 points behind the cut line. Very interesting. I mean, we see Caffery all the way up there in 4th, but we've seen that last week, and we've seen some issues by the 77. So we'll see how this one plays out, and you never know. Do one of them jump up there and grab the win here tonight? It seems like Pearce certainly has his track nailed down, but Biggart, again, not exactly too far behind.
No, absolutely not, and definitely not letting him go. I mean, it looks like Biggart's determined to stay with him, and I can't say I blame him. I mean, at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any way that Pearce can actually break away from Biggart. He's refusing to let this go, and I mean, I can't actually say I blame him. I'm just going to quickly check over on the live. We've got Barry still in there, Mark Stevo. Good enjoying racing tonight. Yeah, it's already good racing. Chop Shop boys always seem to bring it out whenever we broadcast them, as if to prove the point that this Caffery looking all over the back of Steiner. Now maybe picking up a little bit on where he's quick and where he seems to be pulling back on Steiner and looking to try and make a move. Maybe he can see the first 2 getting away and thinks that he's got a little something, but we'll just have to wait and see how this pans through.
Yeah, I personally love it when you have a battle with two guys like this that they're so evenly matched, and you kind of start to think and you wonder what's going on in their heads. Are they right now, thinking that they got a little bit left in the tank? Are they actually, full throttle right now and trying to break away from each other? Or are they, thinking long game here? Are they thinking, okay, I'm just going to try and save these tires? Obviously, you're not going to change tires here, but the better you can save them, the better they're going to be throughout the entire race here. Are you, Caffery back there, maybe knowing that you have a little bit left in the tank, in the pace of that Porsche, and just kind of hanging behind Steiner right now to get another lap or two worth of fuel and stretch that fuel run out and maybe get your lap led at that point, maybe take a little bit less fuel and pick up some positions at that point. I mean, right now these guys are doing even more of a battle than first and second were doing earlier, and they're only 5.5 seconds back behind these leaders. So if the leaders get up there and mix it up a little bit, or you got some better pit stops by third and fourth, they're going to be right there.
Yeah, very true. You can see the difference right there as you. Oh, Steiner looking a little loose. I think Steiner is absolutely driving the wheels off that BMW. I'm not gonna lie. We were talking about just how not difficult that BMW is to get around here, but just the difference between the two cars, and it does look like for Steiner to stay in third, he's having to drive the absolute wheel nuts off that car. Notice how I said wheel nuts and not just the last part. Yeah, with Caffery, tucks in behind him, this is where that Porsche is going to start pulling up. It's very slippery. It doesn't have that big old sniffer at the front that BMW has, a big gaping grille, which tends to make it a little less aero efficient. And as you can see, that Porsche closing up a little on the long run.
So we'll take a look. And I'll run through our field right now as you got James Pearce out front, stretching out to his biggest lead that we've seen so far, about 6.5 tenths of a second, coming down to the line to start lap number 11 here, as he's led from the pole from the beginning. Nate Biggart started outside of the front row and has not let James Pearce go at all. You see him close back in and really gains going into turn one right here, and gains it all the way back down to about 4 tenths of a second. But Pearce just getting a little bit better drive coming out of those corners. David Steiner. Go ahead.
Sorry, I think there's a little bit of light flashing going on there. I think they've been to the Carl Handwerk School of Intimidation.
That's what it's all about right there. Just you get whatever you got to do to get in that driver's head.
Yeah.
Just ask a B.
Very true. Sorry, there's a little bit of an in-joke from the core group there. We had one of our favourite drivers, a B, who tends to, if I say gets flashed a lot, then that could be really misleading to everybody else out there. But when we tend to race a B, anybody trying to put a B under a little bit of pressure gives them a quick flash of the headlights, and it's an in-joke for the core racing network. If you've ever seen any of the core races with a B in it, you'll understand what we mean, because I think the poor man must be almost blind from the amount of headlights he's had flashed in that rearview mirror.
I think Parks de la Cruz should have used the headlights a little bit more on Monday night, as he was certainly complaining about getting by him. But getting back to the field here, David Steiner started in 5th place, up 2 spots here from the start, and he's been in 3rd for quite some time right now, and for quite some time holding off Michael Caffery back there in 4th position, as these guys start to slip back just a little bit from that lead pack, back to about 7 seconds behind those front two, who are getting even closer once again. Then you got Skylar Keitel started in 9th, and he is up 4 spots up to 5th position right now, so a good run here from Skylar. Michael Strickland, another one that just needs a good finish here, and needs to find a way to just kind of ease his way through this round. Obviously in a good spot, 4th place in points right now, and 29 ahead of the cut line, so he finishes up here close to the top 5, should easily guarantee him through to the next round. Colby Hartung right behind him in the 21, and he's been one that's showed some pace here and there when he's been in the field, and showed his way to threatening top fives and race in and race out. So we'll see if Colby has anything here for the rest of this race. Currently running in 7th. We've seen the issues for Dominique Ford in the beginning of this race, and drop back to 10th, moved his way up to 8th, drop back to 11th, and he's back up in 8th once again. So he's certainly got some pace in that Mercedes, but he's got a long way to go to get himself into the top 5, let alone battle for a podium. Mark Roettgen in the Furvet, one of Mark's favorite paint schemes out here, and doing a good job running in 9th right now, and he's got some of his competitors below the cut line behind him right now, which is exactly what he needs to do. Came in as one of those drivers 3 points ahead of the cut line, but he's got drivers like Salas and Wesley Strait behind him, which is where he needs them to be. One of those drivers we just mentioned, Wesley Strait, is in 10th place. Certainly would really like to catch up to Roettgen and get ahead of him and try and move his way up through the field, as he's going to need some of those points to get up into the top 8. As we mentioned, Michael Caffery is below the cut line with him, but doing very well up into 4th right now. Phillip Caffery back here in 11th, and another one that is 3 points out of the cut line. So very interesting. I mean, right there you got Roettgen, Strait, and Caffery all right there on points, and it's very close. Steven Salas came in 3 points behind the cut line in 9th place. So in 9th place in points, 12th right now in the race. He's going to need a little bit of help. He's going to need to find a little bit of pace in that Porsche out there tonight, running a different car, trying to get a little bit extra speed maybe, but it's not paying off just yet for Steven Salas. But we're only 22 minutes into this race. Dylan Stuckey, the last one here, running in the field in 13th position. Had some issues earlier in the race, and it's put him a lap down right now. But that is your 13-car field here at Daytona.
Yeah, you were right. The Roettgen Strait Caffery battle, I wouldn't say heating up, but they're going to be very interesting. It's going to be tough for these guys to, they're going to need to kind of keep themselves in the right area. Not one of them not wanting to break before the other one, and I think the pit strategy is going to be fairly important for these guys, because they're not going to want to let the gap build too much between each other, considering how close they are in the points going towards the playoffs. So when it comes down to pit time, then I think we're gonna see some people taking a few risks, a few chances, trying to break away from one another. But yeah, definitely interesting. Looks like Pearce might have just broken the toe from Nate Biggart. So now Biggart's gonna see if he can actually start to pull this back up, or whether Pearce has now decided that he now has to go, because he can't continue to drag Nate around this track.
When you wonder what's going on in the head of Nate Biggart now that he's lost the draft. I mean, he's 38 points out of the cut line. Even if he finishes last in this race, I think it's a good possibility that he moves on just on points. But with that in mind, do you just kind of put the hammer down and try and catch back up to Pearce, try and get that win, and kind of win it or bin it? It's I thought you might like that one.
You do like to ask the tricky questions there, don't you, Carl? I mean, good God, man, you're trying to put me on the spot. I mean, that all depends, and I think that's one of the great things about Daytona. It's so tricky. It's one of those tracks where if you do get it wrong, it can hurt you, and hurt you badly. But if you get it right, it can also work for you and work really well for you. So if you get that good lap, there's every now and then there's almost like a half a second to a second to be made if you can nail that really quick lap down. So I mean, you've lost the toe. Nate being as far up as he is. It's all about the driver's mentality. He's thinking, I can make it through in this position. I just need to conserve. I just need to get round the track. I just need to not make any mistakes. Keep an eye on the gap to the guys behind me, and we'll have to see what happens. But I think Steiner's in the pits because he's suddenly dropped off.
Yeah, Steiner comes in the pits. He gives up third position coming into the pits. He has Skylar Keitel giving up his position, and Dominique Ford coming in, as those guys were about to be the front and the back of this little 4-car battle, as now you have Colby Hartung moving himself up into fourth, Strickland right behind him. This is the battle for fourth position right now on the track, but it would have had both Ford and Keitel in this mix as well. It looks like Ford maybe getting out ahead of Keitel. Oh no, he's still in pit lane the way it seems. So yeah, gonna be very interesting how quick these guys get in and out of pit lane, but we've seen Ford did catch up to these guys before he came into the pits. So he is certainly on the move, wants to get himself back up into the top 5 and maybe make a late charge here and still have a chance at the podium. He certainly has plenty of speed in that Mercedes, running some of the fastest laps out on the track. But coming out of the pits right now, he is in 10th position. We'll see where everything shakes out, and I believe it looks like Skylar Keitel may have had a pit road penalty because he is still in pit lane. Now just coming out.
It's a little tough. The entry is so quick, and you want to carry as much speed as you possibly can coming into the pit lane. So you need to be as late on the brakes as you dare. That Ferrari, like, really late on the brakes coming into the pit lane, taking a slightly different line. So we'll just see what happens here. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm now curious to see when Caffery decides that he's going to bring that Porsche in, considering now that Steiner is out there.
Everybody in the top 6 is in the pits right now. So Phillip Caffery is the one that is still out there. Shocker, Phillip Caffery still out there, and now he's finally bringing it in. So he's unfortunately not going to lead a lap here, which he typically likes to do, stay out there one extra lap than everybody else. But David Steiner now coming around, and we already see, looks like Nathan Biggart has gotten out ahead. Yeah, right there on the inside, that is James Pearce. He has lost not 1 but 2 positions, now 3. He's going to go from first back to fourth. So I'm not sure if that was tires or not, as James Pearce has been known to take tires and kind of mix it up here a little bit, but his pit stop was out there in the 43-second range, where everybody else was in the high 20s, low 30s. So that is certainly a bit of a development here. As take a look at the pit times right there, you see Biggart with a 29.5. He is now in the lead. Michael Caffery in second, so he jumps up past Steiner as well with a 28.7. You see a 2-second quicker pit stop than Steiner, who's going to fall into third. James Pearce, 43.2, going to fall into fourth. I mean, James Pearce certainly had the speed, and he had the lead. Is taking tires the right option here, Mark? I mean, another tough question here for you. I don't know if taking tires here in this spot is going to be enough to get him back all the way up to the lead. He's now 12 seconds adrift from Nate Biggart.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I wouldn't have taken tires. I mean, it's an hour. I know it's a long track, but I mean, it's not massively grid dependent. You know, there's a lot of big exits here which can, you know, hurt those rear tires. But yeah, I'm not sure I would have taken a set, unless James, you know, thinks to himself, oh, I've got so much more pace than the other guys. But you know, that's a big gap to try and pull back up at like 12 seconds, 11 and a half seconds now. I mean, we know that Pearce has got a phenomenal pace, and he is incredibly quick. And once once those tyres come up a temp, he's probably going to be able to carry just a little more corner speed. But he's still going to have to get past 2 drivers who you know, they're not going to want to let him pass. They're in this for the playoff points. So, you know, I'm not sure I'd want to try and pass Caffery, or even I definitely wouldn't want to try and pass Nate, because, I mean, Nate's right out there right now, all to himself, thinking, you know, there's no way you're going to get past. I'm going to block, for, you know, until I can block no more.
Yeah, I'd say till the sun comes up, but unless they have this on about 12x on the weather, and I don't think the sun's going to come up here during this race. But yeah, I mean, 12.8 seconds behind Nate Biggart right now, and he's not really eating into that gap at all. But he's got to first get past David Steiner, who has not exactly been a slouch here tonight. Michael Caffery is right there as well, so he may be able to catch up to them, get the draft, and maybe able to pass them. But then he's got a huge gap right now, 9.25 seconds from Michael Caffery up to Nate Biggart, and he's not going to have any kind of drafting from there up to the 19. So right now, Nate Biggart, as long as he's got the fuel, looks like he's in the catbird seat here for the second half of this race. Take a look at an issue here for Phillip Caffery after he came out here, and just again, we talked about how difficult it is getting the power down coming out of the infield there. It's just it's bumpy. It's kind of a weird exit of a corner. And you see, even when he gets spun around, it's still tough to get the power down there. But unfortunately, Phillip going to lose out another position right there to Skylar Keitel as he goes on by.
Another little mini heart attack there for me there, Carl. And talking of mini heart attacks, these three guys are absolute. Oh, there's a big whopping hit from Colby, trying to get that power down. But at the moment, I would probably say that Colby is probably relishing in this, because, you know, that big old grunty Merc sitting in front of him is probably going to help get him dragged up here closer towards Michael Strickland there, because that's that BMW might not be the fastest car in the straight line, but it can actually draft quite well once you've got some of that air taken away from that nose.
Ferrari followed by Mercedes, followed by BMW here, coming on to the backstretch of Daytona, and this is Strickland, Ford, and Hartung. So good pit stop here from Dominique Ford. You see it, 30.5, gets him out ahead of Colby Hartung, and now straight smack dab in the middle of the battle here for a top 5 position. So really good fight back here from Dominique after the early issues, and finds himself now in a good position to grab a top 5. But the man to beat right now is Nathan Biggart. The lead trimming down a little bit, down to about 8.5 seconds, and you know, you wonder if that's Nate just kind of backing off the pace a little bit, trying to save that car just a little bit, since he's got a pretty good gap, and maybe saving a little bit of fuel. But certainly not going to give up too much here, as Michael Caffery is on it. And we mentioned, again, playoff picture, Nate Biggart is in a good spot. He is 38 points ahead of the cut line, but would love to get a win here, get some bonus points to carry him on in the next round. Michael Caffery may need a win, depending on where everybody else finishes here in the race. As it stands right now, should be okay points-wise to move on through. But again, you know, grabbing that win, securing yourself in there, it feels great. You get the, you know, the adrenaline, you get the boost heading into the second round that you got a W, and you get some bonus points to take with you. So Michael Caffery is certainly going to be on it here to try and get there to Nate Biggart and give him a run.
Yeah, absolutely. Nate and Michael probably. This is where that balance comes in. You don't want to push too hard because you want to conserve. You don't want to get that car in all kinds of sticky situations. But at the same point, you've also got two drivers behind you, like Steiner and Pearce, who are through. So you want to try and stay in front, so you can't ease up too much. This is one of those tricky mental situations where you're kind of doing all these things points at the same time. You're trying to calculate, you know, what's the relative? Are they closing on me? Am I pulling away? You know, can I make through on the points? Can I not make through on the points? And then at the same time, you're driving around Daytona at phenomenal speed, trying desperately to, you know, to make whatever moves that you can when you can. And as soon as I say that, we get closer towards the back marker here for Caffery, and now he's going to be thinking to himself, where can I make this pass? You know, where do I need to calculate? Can I catch him on the big straight here? You know, I'm coming up in the 5-6, and I need to be able to get this car, you know, tucked in, and so that when I hit that main straight, I'm as close as I can, so I can use that slipstream. You know, is Steiner there? Is he going to close? And it looks like Pearce is now, you know, trying to put some pressure on Steiner at the same time. So now that's going to start playing on his mind, because he can see Pearce. He knows he's there. He knows he's quick. He doesn't want him to make that move past Pearce. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Well, in the meantime, we had some developments back here for that battle for 5th, and this is going into turn number 1. Dominique Ford sends it on the outside around Strickland. Gets the pass done, and you see it right there behind him. Colby Hartung looked for the move initially, but fell back in line behind Strickland, but wasn't there for too long. As fast forward just a bit, and this is coming back onto the main track. You see Strickland getting a little bit sideways coming out of the infield, and Hartung was able to make the pass. But again, that was a bit short-lived as well, as Hartung had a bit of an issue here and gives the spot right back to Michael Strickland, getting a little bit sideways going through the hairpin. And good job there, just locking it up and letting Strickland by, but he's going to lose a ton of time and lose that position of 6th place to Strickland.
Yeah, not the first time that we've seen that Ferrari get a little wayward trying to get back out from the infield onto the track, and looks like Pearce trying to make a move there on Steiner. Steiner holding up the inside as they go through the kick side by side, something that we said earlier on was not the wisest of moves, but these two guys absolutely demonstrating that it can be done if you feel it.
Yeah, of all the times that you've held your breath, that you've had heart attack moments, that was mine right there. Is I've been in that situation one too many times. If it's happened twice, it's happened two too many times. But yeah, it's not fun. It's not safe. But these guys showing, as Mark said, that it can be done. There's a reason both these guys have the green numbers. They are locked in with wins in the last 2 weeks, and they have been some of the top competitors here in the Chop Shop GT Series all season. Thank you to the sponsors here. Obviously, Fuego Paints being the main sponsor, but W Energy. Looked like, okay, I just want to make Steiner was okay there. Looked like he had a bad trip through the bus stop. But again, Fuego Paints, W Energy, Track Racer, and Admin Box for the sponsorships here for the series. Thank you to everybody tuning in as well. And if you haven't done so, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe as we continue our march to 1,000 subscribers. And Pearce continues his march up through this field, going past the lap car here of Stuckey, trying to keep up with Michael Caffery right now, and he's got him in his sights. So 2nd place is right there. He's down to about 10.5 seconds. He's eaten about 2 seconds out of that gap up to Biggart, but still got a long way to catch him.
Yeah, very true. You were saying about Steiner looking like he had a little bit of issue through the bus stop. I think he's had a bigger one.
This is coming in the International Horseshoe, maybe just trying to get a little bit too much. It catch back up to this group right here, and again, another one that just loses it in the International Horseshoe. And not sure. Yeah, okay. It looked like he was backed up into the tires, but looks like he had some issues getting that thing back into gear. Finally gets back going, but in the meantime, Dominique Ford taking advantage and moving up into 4th right now. And Steiner is stuck back here in 5th place, just ahead of Michael Strickland. And obviously Strickland would love to pick up a top 5 here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I was so rudely interrupted there by Steiner getting by having some complications in the international horseshoe. The reason he had stretched back a little bit is I think he had a slowdown going through the bus stop. And I think that was the reason why the others have broken away, and probably why he was trying to push that little bit harder coming into horseshoe. And this is one of those things that we were talking about. It's if you get it wrong here, it can really hurt you. And it's so very easy to get it wrong, and it feels so easy to bring that time back, and it really is not.
Well, the battle for second is certainly on now. Michael Caffery has it, James Pearce wants it, and these guys are about 10 seconds behind your leader right now, Nate Biggart, with about 20 minutes left here in the race. And Mark, I think it's about time we let these cars do the talking, and we turn the mics off, give you boys and girls a little love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The sights and sounds of the GT3 series here for Chop Shop and Fuego Paints. As you see right there, James Pearce has moved himself past Michael Caffery. We'll take a look back here and see when that pass happened, coming down into turn number 1. Pearce on the brakes a little bit later and on the inside, had the position there, gets it done and moves himself into second place. Again, he's got quite a long distance to catch up to our leaders now. It's stretched out to 11.25 seconds for Nate Biggart. He is putting it down here and not looking back as he's running some phenomenal laps. His best lap was a 45.26. Last one was a 45.41. So not too far off his fastest laps, but James Pearce fastest lap was about 4/10 faster than that, and his last lap was 2/10 faster. Not going to be enough to catch him here with only 11 minutes left in this race, but I think he's got to worry about Michael Caffery right behind him because Caffery's not letting him go.
No, Caffery looks absolutely determined to stay with him. We saw a little as we were just coming out of the, you like to hear it, just how hard Caffery is pushing that Porsche, the back end of it, straining underneath the stress. And the Porsche, one of those cars which has got a lot of weight over the back, so if you're pushing it hard enough to make it over rotate, you are pushing hard on it. So it does look like Caffery he's got the bit between his teeth, and he's certainly pushing on. Just a quick glance over towards the live chat. My three sons looking good, Mr. Biggart, and a shocked face. Some great racing there from Barry TK, looking good for that win, Nate Biggart. Barry, you know what it's like. You can't say those kind of things in here because
no, you can't say those kind of things in here.
And my three sons sounds good. I mean, these cars they do sound good. They sound phenomenal. The Porsche got that very distinctive flat six, and the Merc with that big old V8 grunt, and the BMW with hybrid. I'm taking. It's a joke. It's a joke. It was a joke. It was.
Well, don't say it too loud because they will hear it over the engine, as it's a nice little whisper. But right now, Biggart out to 11, almost 12 seconds of a lead, and this is exactly what he wanted to see in this last race here in round number 1. And I'll tell you what, if you you took us at the beginning of this playoffs and asked, you know, who are 3 different drivers that could win at these 3 races, probably the 3 guys that are looking to do it here. Certainly, James Pearce has shown himself and wins the first race right out of the rip in the playoffs. David Steiner finally breaks through last week at Detroit Belle Isle. Nate Biggart does have a win on the season, and he's threatened so many more, but would love to get the win here in the playoffs and grab some bonus points heading into the second round. Looking to do so right now. 9 minutes left in this race before he can claim victory. And taking a look at the next round in the schedule, as it's only going to be 2 races in the next one, and that is going to be Mount Panorama, better known as Bathurst, and then Road Atlanta for round number 2 before we finish off the season with the championship race at Interlagos. So some pretty interesting tracks there in round number 2. Mark, taking a look ahead real quick at Bathurst. I mean, kind of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, 2 different kind of tracks there. You got the mountain, and then you got the long straights and the nice little 90-degree corners.
Oh, Carl, you know me. I really enjoy Bathurst because I think it's probably one of those tracks that's got a little bit of everything. It's got that big power drive where you need to get from the bottom coming up into the mountain. You've got those long sweepers where you need to carry that speed, and then you've got the mountain itself. It's it's very technical. To make it quick through over the top of the mountain, you need to have that car balanced on the edge of grip and of brake and on steering, because there's a lot of left-right combinations where you need to carry a lot of speed, but at the same point you also need to have that brake covered just in case it does go a little bit wrong. And then you've got that big wrong down Conrod. It's a huge massive power section of the track. You need to be able to get that car set up as you come out of that tight left just before Conrod. You need to have the car set up, and I think that's probably going to be one of the key points for a lot of these drivers. I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys get around Bathurst, because they've demonstrated that they've definitely got the skills to get these cars around any kind of track, and Bathurst is just one of those tracks where you can see the guys who have got the natural talent be able to put those cars to the best use.
And then you got the week after that, Road Atlanta. Why don't you talk us about Road Atlanta?
Road Atlanta is just one of those tracks I've never managed to get myself around. I find it tricky, Carl. It's just I can never seem to get a decent lap around there, because you can't. It feels like you're constantly on the balance, and it never seems to work out for me. Okay, now I get the opportunity to switch the cars. And what is your favourite part of Road Atlanta, Carl?
Well, I tell you that my favorite part is coming out of the little S turn at the end there, the little back and forth, and going up and over underneath the overpasses. Speaking of passes, I had 3 guys under. I'm blanking here, getting very close, coming towards the end of this race, but whew, no room to move and moving each other a little bit. So I'll put my on hold for a second and hold my breath going through here. Okay. All right, I can.
It's not over. It's not over. What are you doing?
Okay. I think it may have settled down for a second, so I'll quick get this in here. Yeah, going up and over, it's really fun coming up and over there if you carry all that speed and coming down. It seems like a really sharp kink coming down there to the start-finish line, but you hold it flat through there, and it feels like you're really ripping through there, but that's about it. Turn 1 can eat your lunch in a second if you take it just a little bit too much speed. You can be off into the grass and just killing your entire lap. You may not make it to the barrier. Pretty wide and pretty big runoff there, but really tough to get a lot of power down. And then you come up to the blind S's, and it's completely blind coming up to the top of that hill. You need to know where you need to put the car. You gotta stay as far left as you can. Really try and set yourself up for those S's, and you need to be faster there. You can gain or lose a lot of time through the S's, and then at the very bottom of the S's, it can get sketchy because you got to run wide to keep all that speed in the car, but you go up over that rumble strip, you catch it the wrong way, and it's going to send you off. We've seen it on Monday night over in the Core GT series. It's not easy. Then obviously the double right-hander, nothing too crazy there, but you need to get a good exit out of there to get down the long backstretch with a ton of speed. Gonna be fun. I mean, if you're looking at those 2 races, Mark, if you make it through into this round of 8, if you're one of the 8 drivers, we'll play tennis here. I'll serve it back to you. How are you handling Bathurst, and how are you handling Road Atlanta if you're one of those top 8 guys?
Honestly,
are you looking at Bathurst and just try and get through and survive, or are you actually trying to make a mark and put some points up on the board?
Yeah, I think for me, Bathurst is one of those where you're either bin it or win it, and then rely on Road Atlanta, because at least with Road Atlanta, if you come off at Road I'm sorry, they're refusing to let me talk here.
I hear you.
Please pause the racing just for a minute while I try to speak. The Ferrari so late on the brakes there as they come back out again, out onto the main drag from the infield.
Sure. Here, we'll put it on quarter speed for you. Let you talk real quick.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, for me, bin it or win it at Bathurst, because, you know, if you get it wrong at Bathurst, it really doesn't matter what happens. You're probably going to end up in a wall or with the car terminally damaged, whereas with Road Atlanta and the new updates to iRacing, especially the grass, you've probably got a chance to save it. There you go. I've done it. Peace out.
And speaking of out, it looks like Steiner may be out of this battle. He might have gotten a slowdown going through there, because he's up in that high line and losing a ton of speed, and certainly that looks like the case, as we've got a 2-car battle now for the 5th position. Colby Hartung in 5th right now, Strickland in 6th, but the man of the hour is coming up on what should be the final lap this time by coming out onto the main track. Again, this is going to be Nate Biggart out there to about 11.5-second lead. We'll get back to our battle here, though. This is the battle right here for 2nd place. Not over yet. James Pearce has yet to stretch out away from Michael Caffery, as it's only a half a second in between them for 2nd place. Dominique Ford kind of in a race of his own right now in 4th position. Got a good amount in front, a good amount in back. Michael Strickland is now the man in 5th, and we'll show you why as we just turned away at the wrong moment. This coming down into the International Horseshoe and getting a little bit loose coming in, and then getting a little more loose coming out of there, as he's going to drop a couple positions right there.
With a little assistance, I think, maybe from the Ferrari, he got a little bit more loose. Oh, please don't say there's damage on that car. Like, that would not be fair.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it here, and you see how close they get the first time, and then, yeah, a little goose of the throttle there, and that's all it takes. But Colby Hartung is going to get spun back around. He's in 7th right now, as we'll take a look, and we'll double check with our man up there. And you see Barney right there waving that white flag. Indeed, the last lap here for Daytona, and Nate Biggart is about a half a track away from claiming a playoff victory, claiming his spot in the round of 8, and taking some much needed and much deserved bonus points along with it. He hung up with these guys in the beginning. He hung with James Pearce, would not let him go, made it work on the pit stop, as James Pearce looked like he elected to go for the tires, and Nathan Biggart did not. He has made this Lightning McQueen with an even bigger smile here tonight, as he's going to come through the bus stop one last time, probably the last tricky spot. Just keep it smooth, keep it clean, keep it off the grass, and keep away from those penalties, and that's what he's done. He's going to bring it around the final corners here at Daytona and grab a victory. And I mean, he actually, hold that thought, as another development here with that battle for 5th. Doesn't look like it's over quite yet, as now Michael Strickland is the one stricken with the spin bug the way it looks, and that is hard impact. And I think that locked up the tire on him on the front. It did. That's going to be almost impossible, and I don't think he can drive it. It looks he's trying to get it back into gear. It looks like it'll reverse, but it won't go forward. And Michael Strickland's night is over. What a turn of events right there. What is that going to do for the playoffs? He should still be okay to move on through points, but he is going to fall through right here as James Pearce just destroying the car. After that is after the race there. As we take a look back live, Nate Biggart does go on for the win. James Pearce in second, Michael Caffery in third. Then you got Dominique Ford just destroying that Mercedes big time in fourth. David Steiner in 5th place. Colby Hartung is going to finish in 6th. Wesley Strait coming around right now. He is going to grab 7th place. Mark Roettgen coming around the final corner right now in the Fervette. And this should be enough to, well, will be enough to get him 8th place, but should be enough to get him through into the round of 8 as well for the 76 machine. Skylar Keitel coming off of the track as well. He's going to bring it home in 9th. Michael Strickland is going to be done and finish in 10th position. I believe, as trying to look here, yeah, it looks like Caffery is, I believe, a lap down to Strickland. Yeah, so it looks like Strickland will finish in 10th. Phillip Caffery will finish in 11th. Steven Salas in 12th. Dylan Stuckey in 13th, and then Carlton Hendry did not make the field here tonight, but what a finish there. I mean, I wait for the points to finally decide who those final 8 are, but what a crazy finish here.
Well, I'm just going to quickly look over at the live chat here. Barry, he did it. Congrats to Nate Biggart. Good racing. Absolutely couldn't agree with you more. A supreme display of control driving there, I think, from Nate. Knew what he had to do, had it measured out. Pearce coming in for that set of tyres. I mean, at the end, I think that they came out 12 seconds apart. They ended up 11 seconds apart. So it just goes to show just how well controlled that was from Nate, from James Pearce. My 3 sons, yeah, Nate, yeah. Yeah, it was a superb race again from there. And Barry TK, congrats to all the drivers. I completely agree with you, mate. It was just a phenomenal race. I think I might need medical assistance because there was getting towards the end of that. I think he was getting a lot of these guys were looking for those playoff points and decided that all care should go out the window. Yeah, I think I'm going to have a lie down in a minute, Carl. I think I need one.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take the first interview. I'll let you get a little breather here, and we'll bring in our 3rd place finisher here tonight, and that's going to be the 77 of Michael Caffery. What a phenomenal race here that you put on, and you've been chasing down these podiums for quite some time now, but it wasn't easy tonight, and it looked like maybe 2nd place was in the cards, and Pearce got around you, but you would not let him go. Was there anything you could have done there in the waning moments to try and get around that 23 to get that 2nd place?
Oh, you guys pulled up Nate, not Mike. Sorry.
Let's try that again. Well, then we'll just go ahead and start with you, Nate, because obviously a pretty dominating win here, but it took the pit stop to change it around. And it looks like potentially Pearce taking tires and maybe you not taking tires got you a nice, comfortable lead. Was that the case?
Well, I think it was actually he went with full fuel.
That'll do.
And also, when we first pulled in, he overdrove his pit stop, so he had to back up. That slowed him down, and then he took way too much fuel. So I think I told him, I was like, I think I just got in his head, you know, finally being on his bumper that whole first run. He made a mistake, pushed him into a mistake.
Tired of seeing that smile behind him. That's apparently what it is. And we finally got the paint's working, so we get to see that beautiful Lightning McQueen Porsche out there once again. And I mean, how did the second half of that race feel? It's nice, obviously, to have a lead, and it's nice to have a nice sized lead like you did there. But sometimes you can kind of rest on your laurels a little bit and get a little complacent. And we've seen that lead go from about 12 seconds down to 8. Was that you just kind of playing it easy? Was it saving a little bit, or was it you kind of maybe losing a little focus?
Yeah, no, it was just me saving a little bit because I did the opposite on fuel. I went right to the margin to where I weren't sure if I was going to make it. And basically, if the time didn't work out to where it did for me, if we had a white flag another lap later, I probably wasn't gonna. So I was basically just trying to save fuel and go easy. So it was just a strategy thing. Once I knew I was good, I started going good, put in some good laps at the end. It felt great, you know. I mean, I think for the fastest laps of the race, I was only about a 10th off from James, which, you know, he's fast. So the only way we're going to beat him is trying to get him to make these mistakes, and just being within a 10th of him for that fast lap was nice.
Well, you talk about good and great. How did the win feel here tonight to kind of cap off the first round of these playoffs? You've seen your biggest competitors this season, James Pearce and David Steiner, grab wins in the first 2 races. How good does it feel to grab your win here in the third race before you head to round number 2?
I can't even explain it, man. Like this feels awesome. I knew that in this round, this was my chance because, like I said before, the last 2 races we ran, I had just bought the tracks that week, you know, and didn't even really have time to put in practice because I do so much different type of racing with the Chop Shop crew and officials, and I just don't have the time. So I just show up, buy the track, show up, and do an hour of practice for the race. So I knew I was destined to fail for the first 2, but I'd run Daytona before, and I know this track, you know, pretty damn well. And I was excited for it to come, that this was my chance. I still was a little devastated because James waited till about 2 minutes left to practice to show up to the room. But, you know, I still had confidence. You know, I know there has been races in the tracks that I have experience in. I'm still able to keep up with them. You know, when we were at Roettgen, I was definitely faster than him, just had an incident. So I knew I still had a chance here. And yeah, lucky for me, you know, he made a mistake. And I think from then on, after I was able to push, we were just matching times. You know, I know he had obviously heavier fuel, but Caffery holding him up and everything. And it feels great. You know, it feels great to finally beat James. He's dominated this series, and every win I've had this season has been in races that he wasn't in. So to finally win one, and at this amount, you know, I think I ended with like a 10-second gap on them guys. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like 11.71 was the final gap there. But we're done with round number 1. You get your win. You get a little bit of bonus points to carry with you as well into round 2. But now round 2, only 2 races. So you're looking at Bathurst and Road Atlanta. Is there one track that you maybe favor over the other? Is it going to be survival and just figuring out a way to get inside the those final spots for the championship round, or are you going for a win?
I mean, I'm a racer, so yeah, I'm going for the win in both the tracks. I'm familiar with both, so that helps. You know, I mean, I have the speed, I'll have the confidence that I had tonight. I just ran Bathurst endurance race last weekend, and also going to run the Bathurst 1000 this weekend. Although I'm struggling with that car because I sit on the wrong side of the car, but definitely getting a lot of practice in Bathurst anyways. So I'm looking forward to that. And
pipe down, Mark.
just survive the round.
Yeah, it seemed like that's kind of what you need to do at Bathurst just to begin with. Is you have to survive at least those first couple laps, especially if you're not starting on that front row, and you never know what kind of calamity can happen in the beginning. But you've been doing well here, not just in the race, but obviously did well qualifying yourself on that front row, and you showed your pace here. And you did not let James go in that first half of the race, whether he made those mistakes on pit road or not. I don't think you were going to let him go on the track. I think he finally maybe stretched it out to about a second and a half before the pit stops, but you still weren't really falling back at all. So congrats again on your victory here. Congrats on making it through to round number 2. But before we let you go, anyway, you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
Yeah, I always want to thank the league themselves. You know, John Hammond and Michael Strickland. they do a lot for the Chop Shop. I mean, they're the owners, but they put a lot into it. They're racing, you know, 5 or 6 nights a week, all different series, doing all the points, posting all the sessions. I know it costs them money, paying for the broadcast, all that. So I just appreciate everything they do. I first joined iRacing, you know, in October of last year. They welcomed me right in, taught me pretty much everything I know about this racing stuff. I just appreciate them taking me in and doing everything they have for me. I want to thank you guys for doing the broadcast. Core Racing Network, phenomenal job. I can't wait to go back and watch this one. I'm excited.
I wonder why.
Yeah. Obviously, I want to thank the sponsors of the Chop Shop League. I know C2 Gaming does a lot for these guys. We also have Track Racer and Dubby and Fuego Paints. Joseph is awesome. If you ever need a paint, hit that guy up. He does a great job. And I always dedicate my wins to my biggest fan, my mom, and give a shout out to her. But also, I want to give a shout out to the guys I see on the broadcast here. Tell me congrats. I appreciate you guys. Sherry, Barry, appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, well, once again, congrats on your win here tonight, your 3rd win of the season, and couldn't come at a better time in the playoffs to get you through to round number 2. So we'll see you next week at Mount Panorama.
All right, see y'all there.
At your winner here tonight, the 19 of Nathan Biggart. Now bring in the man that was on the pole and ended up coming up a runner-up here tonight. That is going to be the 23 of James Pearce. Mark, why don't you take James?
James, Mark up here in the booth. How are you, my friend?
Good. I feel like a whale. I don't like it.
I hate to bring it up, and I don't want to be that guy.
But you're gonna be.
But you know, I'm going to be because I'm a broadcaster and it's my job. What happened there, dude?
That's the last time I trust my fuel executive.
Gotcha.
That sucked. I got 100 liters of fuel when I really didn't want it, and then trying to capitalize on that as much as I could. That was kind of what it was. But no, yeah, that was really the catalyst for that. I missed my pit box, but that was not gonna drop me. It was drop me behind Nate, and I feel like that would have been a good battle on that. But got dropped out of the top 4 or top 3 because I apparently canceled my fill and then reinstated autofill with max laps. So that was fun. But no, it's one of those mistakes. You're like, okay, yeah, it'll happen once. Just that shame it's in the league race, but hey, it was good to get that battle back up there, and I was really happy with the battles that came through it. So kind of a happy accident in terms of enjoyment through the race. But yeah, driving that car around with fuel was not the prettiest of fat boys I've ever driven.
No, the Porsche tending to be a little tricky on a full fuel load, or can be. But as you say, a phenomenal comeback, really. Passing Steiner fairly easily, I would say, and then Steiner catching. I wouldn't say an off track, but it looked like he had
slow down.
To catch up to try and make it through for you. But then you and Caffery going there, hammer and tong right towards the end. Caffery not letting you go either. I mean, I know that Porsche was heavy, but even so, that was a good drive from Michael there, staying with you. He was always going to be tricky to catch, Nate, as he was saying. He likes his track, and his times were obviously proving that point. But it was still a good result and some phenomenal racing between you and Caffery towards the end.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. I was speaking to him a second ago. Yeah, about it. It was very enjoyable to have a kind of battle where it was kind of tongue-in-cheek on each different corner of who's kind of got the edge on it and adapting to it. And luckily, even with the weight, I had the edge on getting onto the oval, which is really the only thing that saved me, because Michael had a much more cojones into T1, which I honestly thought was going to be where the move was going to be made. I understand, because in the playoff contention, that's what he was talking about, is he needed these points for the win. But honestly, I was full expecting some some absolute baller move around the outside, because he had the pace in the T1, he had the cojones on brakes, and he honestly had to drive out because of the weight. So I was ready for it. And honestly, he was the faster driver today. I was kind of lucky that I had that one corner to save me, but no, I was glad with that battle, and getting to battle with him is refreshing. Especially with that, where it's not a overall domination on kind of the guy behind kind of pulling up and getting by easy. It was a real battle each corner to kind of keep ahead.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it did look good. There was a couple of places, and as you were saying, Caffery looked like he was evil on the brakes, looking like he was making some really big gains on you on the infield. You were saying on T1 coming round international as well. It looked like he was pulling up big chunks of gap on you, but getting that drive out onto the oval was seeming to be where you were making a lot of that gap back up, and then it was I did think at some point that he was going to try and make a move through you into the bus stop, but it looked like you just had enough drive coming out of the infield onto the oval that you could just hold him back far enough so that he couldn't make that move onto you into the bus stop.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was one of those ones where I kind of had the right driving style for the right car and the right track, where that one corner can save you, especially at these super fast tracks, where especially like Mulsanne, if you can get a great exit, and especially with the fixed setups, the way the draft isn't as strong, you can kind of hold someone at tow even though you really don't deserve to. So I kind of got lucked out on that today, because in any other circumstance I don't think I was going to be able to hold him off. He was too quick on that.
Oh, well, that's fair play for you, and we appreciate the honesty, Pearce. A couple of little points. Looking forward to Bathurst next week. A track that you like, or because it's one of those. I say Marmite. I don't know if many of you guys actually know what Marmite is, but you either love it or hate it. How dare you say such a thing? I love Marmite. It's one of those tracks that you either love or hate. Is it a love or a hate track for you?
I love it. It's especially with this year, my team and my driver, we won at the Bathurst official, the 12-hour or 24-hour, 12-hour. I don't remember. I'm tired. We won there, so it's got a soft spot in my heart, especially with the past years running it all the time with the team, and the win this year. It's one of my favorite tracks because it is such a demanding track in terms of flow state, and that's what I really feel like I can do well. Is not so much. I'm not really a good technical driver, but if I can get into a flow and feel the car, I feel at home with it. So it's one of those tracks that I absolutely love to just kind of go demon mode and just tune out and just hammer down laps. It's great fun.
Yep, but I understand what you mean. It is one of those tracks that kind of demands, I wouldn't say concentration, but once you find a groove for it, once you settle into that groove, the laps do tend to come to you, and you can just knock them out one after the other, and that's when it really seems to pay dividends for you. So we'll look forward to seeing you next week at Bathurst for certain. But before I let you go, my friend, is there anybody who you'd like to give a shout out to?
You guys as well. There's not really in this week. Kind of been working this week, so at the moment I don't know who I gotta thank, and where I gotta thank or put the thanks. But of course you guys as well, and the league, and Michael Caffery too for not absolutely destroying me when he definitely could have. Really appreciate the ego boost there, because I really didn't deserve it. Glad he was in it for the points is what I'm thinking there. But no, you guys as well. You guys have done a great job, and it's always glad to talk to you guys. So happy with that.
Well, we appreciate that, Pearce. I'll let you head up to the friends and the family, and been a pleasure, and hopefully we'll speak to you next week.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
At your second place finisher here tonight, the 23 of James Pearce. And now we will finally bring in the third place finisher here tonight, Michael Caffery, the 77. And Michael, a heck of a run from you tonight, as I mentioned earlier when I brought in Nate by accident. But a good run from you all night. You had plenty of a long battle with David Steiner in the beginning, and then just an epic battle in the second half of the race there, maybe the last quarter of the race there with James Pearce. And he was able to get by you, but you weren't exactly letting him go. So just talk us through the end of that race and how hard you were pushing.
Yeah, I wasn't making it easy. I wasn't just going to let him walk away with it. I was definitely tucked in behind him. You know, those big straights on the outer ring there for the Daytona circuit. It was helping me pull him back in. I think I was a little bit. I actually think I was a little bit quicker on the internal circuit, and he had me going onto that on the outer circuit and through the bus stop. But James and Nate. Nate, he ran an awesome race, and James has had a few dramas in the pit lane, but awesome job to get back up into P2.
So you finish P3 here tonight. Obviously, points are probably heavy on your mind here tonight. How much was that playing a factor throughout the race, and even with the battle between you and James there at the end, knowing that every little bit kind of counted here for you tonight?
Yeah, I guess. Look, that was definitely on my mind, and that's why I just let Dave through right at the start there as well. I just wanted to stay in the points race. Didn't want to get knocked out by just doing a silly move, and that's why I wasn't doing anything crazy around James either. I had a couple of looks at some overtakes, but I wasn't going to pull a crazy Ivan and just throw it down the outside. I needed every point I could get, and that includes those two lots of stage points and the final points for the end of the race to try and get on. I think I was 12th on that board. So yeah, we'll see how we go with the points at the end.
Yeah, it seemed like you were just kind of pacing yourself pretty much all night. In the beginning there behind Steiner, it seemed like he had maybe a little bit more pace, but I thought maybe you were just kind of sticking behind him and maybe saving a little bit extra fuel to make that a little bit of a longer run. But safety certainly makes a lot of sense as well, and it seemed like that's kind of where you were at the end of the race. You seemed to be digging a little bit harder, trying to get past James there at the end. I'm sure he certainly would have loved to have that second place instead of third, but a good third place finish here tonight. I would think it should be enough to make it through to the round of 8 for the Chop Shop GT series here. 2 races on the schedule, the first one being in your home country over there with Bathurst. So we'll start there. Looking forward to Bathurst, or is it one that you kind of need to pick your poison?
No, I love Bathurst. It can make or break you. It only takes one small slip up over the top of the mountain, and that's game over. So I have to be pretty cautious, but you got to leave it all on the mountain. So I'm really looking forward to the Bathurst as a lot of the guys in this series are, because it's a classic old Bathurst classic race, and the Bathurst race is on this weekend, and I think Nate was going to race in it actually, so I might have a go as well. I'll see if I got the time.
Yeah, certainly a little different running that mountain with those super V8s over there. So good luck if you do. I've had my fair share. I may be stepping out of this one this season. I've had a few runs there, and it's I think I'm starting to tend to like the GT3s just a little bit more. They're a little bit more safe compared to getting in those V8 supercars. They can be a beast, and as James mentioned, driving on the other side of the road. I forget if it was James or Nate mentioned driving on the other side of the car. Not something. The
correct side of the car.
Not something some of us are used to. But,
no, that's right. Yeah, Nate was saying something about he just mentioned to me about driving on the wrong side of the car. He was saying so, and he was struggling with it. But no, it's great. Like I don't mind driving on either side. Bring it on.
All right. Well, again, a great run from you tonight. You get your third place here. You get a nice podium, and again, it should be enough to move you on to the next round. And we get to see you competing in the round the round of 8 at Bathurst and at Road Atlanta. But before we let you go here tonight, anybody you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot for the broadcast, guys. You do a great job. Yourselves, CRN, for the broadcast and getting the series out there. Fugo Paints, Nate for that P1, James for the P2, and all the rest of the guys that were in the series. It's great being in there, and even if I'm not in the top 8 or wherever I'm placed, I'll still be in there. Whatever track come up, there's going to be no freebies. I'll still be fighting for P1, even if I'm outside that top 8. I'm giving nothing away.
I'm expecting a little bit extra, a little bit, flying the flag next week at Mount Panorama. So we'll see if either you or Steiner or even Phillip can fly the flag on the top step there of the podium next week. But in the meantime, we'll let you go and get ready. And congrats again here tonight. We'll see you next week at Bathurst.
Hey, thanks, guys. Great to chat to you. I haven't been up here much, but it's great to get a bit of a look in.
Yeah,
Thanks,
absolutely, buddy. Your third place finisher here tonight, the 77 of Michael Caffery, and a pretty phenomenal first round of the playoffs here in the Chop Shop GT3 Series presented by Fuego Paints. And just a lot of drama, and still waiting on how that drama is going to play out there to see who actually makes it through into the second round of the playoffs. But whoever makes it through, it's only 2 races, but a bit of a gauntlet as we talked about, starting with Bathurst and ending with Road Atlanta. So it'll be very interesting to see who makes it through that round. But in the meantime, Mark, final thoughts here from Daytona.
What a race. That's about pretty much all I can add to that. Phenomenal race. Some great battling, absolutely ballistic battling. It just goes to show just how much these guys want it. And you can't take it away from all of the guys here. A controlled race from Nate, seeming to have it all well under control. A rare mistake from Pearce, over having that car overfueled. Looking like he was going to try and pull that back. I wouldn't say a shocking race from Caffery, but a real good race from Michael Caffery, refusing to let Pearce go, just tucking up in behind him. And we all know how quick Pearce can be. So that I think probably one of the best displays of driving there from Caffery. Controlled. I know he said that he was trying to keep in there and was aware of the points. But he had places where he could have made that move, but he had enough control, presence of mind to know that this is not the time. I need those points, and I think that absolutely made good timing for him, and I think that was for me the right move at that time.
Yeah, I love Daytona here under the lights, especially with these GT3 cars. Love seeing a nice size field out here. They had 13 guys out here tonight, and just seeing those GT3 cars rip through the infield for the first time around there, and all them bunched together, and all these cars with their headlights glowing. It's fantastic to see. So I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys out there did as well. Thank you to all you guys for tuning in, first off. And if you haven't done so yet, please hit that like and subscribe to help us get closer to that 1,000 number. Thank you to the sponsors here for the Chop Shop GT Series, Fuego Paints, W Energy, Track Racer, and Admin Box, as well as all the other ones that help them out. They certainly have a lot of help out there as well. They should and they deserve. We've got playoff action here, and we're heading to the second round next week at Mount Panorama. So if you like what you've seen you like what you've seen all season from these guys, make sure you tune in. But for myself and Mark, we'll see you at the track.
Take care, people.